Hello everybody, this is an instructional video on lessons 3 and 4 for our music theory grades 1 and 3. In these lessons we're going to talk about general knowledge on scales, major scales and how to make any major scale starting on any note. Now there are certain points that I would like to go through first before we talk about the major scales. These points are really important. You need to know this information here, and we start with what is an interval. The distance between two notes. What is a semitone? A semitone is the smallest interval, the shortest distance between two notes. And there is here on the second page an example of a piano where we can see our semitones and our tones. I'll come back to that in a minute. Then what is a tone? Because if we have a semitone, surely we must have a tone. A tone is the interval of two semitones. So you have one semitone and then you put another one on top and you have a tone. We're also talking about accidentals here, but can we just go to the tones and semitones for a moment? The piano keys, I've got the image here for you, and all the notes are written on the white and the black keys here. Now I'd like you to have a look at my piano. We're going to go through quickly what a semitone is. A semitone, as it says on the first page, is the shortest distance between two notes. So you can pick any note you want. I'm going to pick this one, which is a G. And what you need to do is go up or down to the closest key, to the next immediate key. Either you're going up or down. So the closest key to G going up is this black key. And the closest key to this G going down, again, is a black key. So from here to here is a semitone, from here to here. And from here to here is also a semitone, from here to here. But if we look at this white key, for example, and we want to go to the next immediate key up, we see that the key is white. So that is also a semitone, you see. So semitones are not only between white and black keys, they can also be between white and white key. And this is what I'm explaining here. E to F and B to C. Notice that these semitones are from white to white keys, as there are no black keys in between. So E to F, B to C are indeed semitones because we don't have the black key in between. We are discussing accidentals here. Accidentals are these signs, your sharp, your flat, and your natural. I'm explaining what accidentals do. Read that carefully. I am bringing your attention to the fact that we can also have a double sharp and a double flat. And just so that before I go to the next page, an accidental changes the pitch of a note by a semitone. Okay, and you will read what the sharp, the flat, and the natural do in this section. Now, we've already covered this part. Now, this is a little introduction to where the actual word scale comes from. It comes from the Italian word scala, which means stairs, ladder. So a musical scale is a row of notes that move up and down by step, like you're going up and down the stairs. Very important points here, these 3 points. I'd like you to read them very, very carefully about scales, and you really need to make sure you don't forget these 3 points. We must have every single letter in our scale. So our letters in music are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We must have every single letter in our scale. Our scales are, I'll show you. If we start on a letter, let's say we start on C, we need to go up to another C or down to another C, but it has to be C to C or E to E. Okay, and within that distance, you need to have each letter appearing once. We cannot have a letter appearing more than once. We cannot have D and D sharp or G and G flat. We'll either have G or G flat. We cannot have both. This is what I'm explaining here. We have major and minor scales, 7 major scales with sharps, 7 major scales with flats, and 1 major scale without any sharps or flats. And there's a little paragraph here about the minor scales. Have a read at this, but we're going to focus on the major scales at the moment. So we said we have 7 major scales with sharps, 7 with flats, and 1 major scale without any sharps or flats. As you can see here, I'll just go a little bit further back. Major scales with sharps and with flats. These are the scales with the sharps, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. And these are the sharps that the scales have. So the first scale, G, has F sharp. The second scale, D, has F sharp and C sharp. You see what we're doing? We're keeping whatever sharps we've had previously, and then we're adding a new one. Therefore, scale number 3, 1, 2, 3, will have 3 sharps, F, C, and G sharp, and so on and so forth. I'm explaining here how you work out the order of the scales and the order of the sharps. You just count 5 letters up. So if you count from G 5 letters up, you'll have G, A, B, C, D. See what I did there? I included letters G in my counting. So G is 1. Then I'm going 1 letter up. The letter after G is A, and then B, C, D, and I get my next scale. And you follow exactly the same for the sharps. Your first sharp is F. So in order to work out the second sharp, you need to go F, that's 1, F, and then you would go 1 letter up, G, and then a 3rd letter up, A, and then B, C. So your second sharp will be C sharp. And I'm explaining this clearly over here. The major scales with flats, you follow exactly the same pattern, but instead of going 5 letters up, you go 4 letters up. Yeah, so a little explanation about why over here we have F sharp and C sharp and not F and C. Because if you go 5 letters up from B, B, C, D, E, F, yeah, you end up on F. But you cannot have F major scale here, because don't forget, we have F sharp in our sharps. So you cannot have F and F sharp in the same scale. We said just a moment ago that we cannot have a letter appearing more than once in a scale. So our scale has to be F sharp because we have an F sharp. The same happens with C. It cannot be C major, it has to be C sharp, because look, we have a C sharp in our sharps. This scale has all the sharps, 7 sharps, and C is one of them. So our scale has to be C sharp. Same happens here. In the major scales with flats, you've got F major. Your F major scale has B flat. So when you count up 4 from F, F, G, A, B, it will not be B major. It has to be B flat major, because we already have a B flat in our flats. I'm showing you here how we write the 7 sharps and the 7 flats on the stave for the treble clef. Study that please carefully. Now let's go over to the final page. Now this is a wonderful magical thing, how to make a major scale starting on any note. So if we follow this pattern, 2 tones, 1 semitone, 3 tones, 1 semitone, we can have a scale, we can create our own scale starting on any note, even if we don't know what sharps or flats it has. I'd really like you to study this by yourself. All the information is in here. Now, one thing I'd like to say in this video, that when you are trying to create your scale following this pattern, let's say you want to start a scale on D. Write down on your paper your letters first, and the letters have to be from D to D. Remember we said? So you need to write D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. You need to write those letters first, and then you're going to see which of these letters will need a sharp or a flat. But you need to write them like that first. So we need to go D, let's say here, from D to D. So we need to have a tone first. D, our next letter is E. Let's see, is that a tone? Yes, it is a tone. Now after E, our next letter is F. Now let's see, from E to F, is that a tone? It's not a tone. This is a semitone. So what we need to do is we need to raise our F by a further semitone to get a tone. So our F will become F sharp. Therefore, from E to F sharp is a tone. Because remember, we need two tones first. Here is our first tone, D to E, first tone, and E to F sharp is our second tone. Then we need to have a semitone, then three tones, then one semitone. And this is how you make any major scale. Here is your major scale of D with your sharps, how they're written, and it's made by following this pattern. I hope it all makes sense. If you have questions, of course, you can contact me, and the worksheet that is associated with this lesson includes 30 questions on various details and various points raised in these lessons. All right, bye-bye for now.